Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. Registrar, can you call the witness in? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. Welcome back for continuation of our afternoon proceedings. As usual, may I remind you that you are still under oath. Madam Chair, over to you.
Mr. Sanyang, welcome back.
Thank you.
Council, can we proceed, please?
Thank you. Now, Chairperson, Mr. Sanyang, I'm going to hand over a file, GPPA file, KMC 1 of 2020, the first volume. Now, Mr. Sanya, this procurement is in respect of a digital revenue collection system. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so Mary.
Sorry, Council. Let me just find out from Mr. Sanyang. The contract that was awarded to Finish Profile, do you know whether it was retendered?
I'm not sure.
You don't have any information or documentation as to whether it was retendered?
I don't know.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Council. You can proceed.
Thanks. Mr. Sanya, I refer you to the Canopy Municipal Council's letter dated the 22nd October 2020, which they sent to your office.
Dated 22nd of October
2020.
2020.
Did you find it?
Not yet.
Okay. Registrar, if you hand me the file, I can assist. Have you seen the letter?
Yes.
Can you tell us what they're saying?
Can I read it?
Yes, please.
Reference, you have forwarding RFP, Digital Revenue Collection System. Attached are the minutes of the Contrast Committee in Council's decision to introduce a digital revenue collection system, which I hereby or herein forward seeking your approval. I look forward to working with your institution to deliver value for money and ensure competition in this process. Your usual support and cooperation are appreciated.
Now, they attached certain documents to that letter, is that correct?
Yes,
One of those documents is the contract committee meeting of 18th August 2020. Attached to that letter.
yes.
And they also attached, I believe, Form 005.
GPPA form. Yes, GPPA form 005.
Okay, so let's start with the contract committee meeting minutes. So they have said, the meeting was held on the 18th of August 2020. It was virtual via Zoom. And in attendance, you had Zainabu Martin Sonko, CEO, Musaba, Abdullahi Kebe, Bakari Singate, Lamin Sanyang, Fatumata S. Cham, Usman Gay, and Philip Spencer. And under the TOR and specifications on e-ticketing, they have said that the CEO took the meeting through the terms of reference by elaborating on the specifications outlined in the document. On the issue of the scope of the project, a member inquired whether the specifications in the TORs is purposely for the Mbalit project or is open to all council revenue lines. The CEO responded that council intends to initially start with the Mbalit project, and upon successful accomplishment of the trial objectives will expand to other revenue lines, subject to the successful implementation for the Mbalit. However, a member suggested that hence council planned, as the CEO reported, it is prudent to implement the project in phases whereby all revenue lines will be implemented accordingly, depending on the success for the Mbalit project. On the financial model, the advisor to council suggested that the TORs be revised to solicited companies' preferred financial model according to the following options. And they put annual commission payment and revenue sharing, profit sharing, additional revenue sharing model. And it says the committee discussed the companies who have submitted their interest in the council on this project and suggested a restricted tender to these companies. So the companies were listed. It was 5C Energy, KR Enterprises, Ecotech, High Tech, Nanotech, and Nifty. And they went further to say, after a thorough discussion on the subject matter, the CEO emphasized the urgency of the project and recommended need for the committee to endorse the TOR so that the procurement manager can proceed on the restricted tender process. Members, as a result, unanimously agreed on the specifications in the TOR, subject to the inclusion of all their observations in both the minutes and terms of reference, which should be shared for their verification. Now, it appears they'd already gone ahead and done an expression of interest. Was any notification of this sent to your office prior to them writing and forwarding this?
I cannot remember, and it's not indicated in this submission.
Now, I refer you to the attached form, the form 005, record of request for proposal.
Okay.
Have you seen it? Okay. So Can you just confirm where, on the portions where it said, will the procurement be subject to international competitive tendering? Did they tick any?
No,
And on expression of interest, will expression of interest be invited? Did they tick any?
no,
Sorry, I believe the secretary wants to say something.
Good afternoon, DG. Welcome back to our afternoon proceedings. As usual, let me just remind you that you are still under oath for continuation of your testimony. Over to you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, under those two columns, there's, under the proposed selection procedure, they have stated that it's for restricted tender process. Have you seen that?
yes,
And they have said the council will seek technical and financial proposals in a restricted manner in order to find a partner to upgrade revenue collection system. Now, is this the correct form for a restricted tender requisition?
no,
Now, is there any implication where they've used the wrong form to apply to your...
there may be implications because the restricted tender form is 002 and the 005 is request for proposal. So request for proposals is more suitable for services and so on. And a restricted tender could be more suitable for goods or construction.
But then each method has its own form.
Yes, restricted tender is 002 and request for proposal is 005.
The 005 form is for services, right?
Yes,
And I think what they are, the type of activity they are seeking for is for the provision of service.
yes.
Okay, Council, you can.
Thank you. So, going through that form, the only portions that are filled, other than the ones that we have highlighted, are where the chairperson is supposed to sign and the date. Are there any other portions of the form that should have been completed?
Yes, I think these are not the only, the signature is not the only areas which are completed.
Okay, can you refer us to the other areas that have been completed?
Now, on the restricted tender, for example, under that column, you have that right up in bold. Council will seek technical and financial proposal in a restricted manner in order to find a
A partner.
to find a partner to upgrade revenue collection system.
Yeah, so it's all under that one area. I had already read that portion. So I'm saying for the rest of the form, if you go through the other pages,
Yes, the other pages, apart from the signatures,
so that's
Are
what
not
I'm trying to
completed.
find out.
Are
Are
not
there any
completed.
portions, any other portions which would ordinarily have been filled? Or is it that because it's the wrong form, the requisite portions are not contained in the form?
no, I think the areas filled are enough for because the form is divided into parts and different parts will be completed at different stages. Now, the rest of the form, I don't know whether it is how it will look in the other submissions, but The other parts of the form will only be completed after the evaluation, because
Okay.
the form is divided into different parts.
So under the restricted tender form, there's usually a portion that you would fill to give your justification for using that method. Is that not
Yes,
right?
yes.
And that
yes.
is not contained in this form,
It's not there.
and they have not provided that information.
Yes.
So can you tell us what your authority's response to their application was?
Our response dated 3rd November 2022. The caption is forwarding RFP, Digital Collection System. We refer to your letter KMC/ADM/002 dated 22nd October 2020 relative to the above subject matter. We have reviewed your request for approval relative to the above caption procurement and made the following observations. 1. The evaluation criteria on page 14 of the bidding document included relevant experience, but does not specify the required experience or qualifications of the firm or personnel. 2. The list of equipment on page 8 confine the bidders in their revenue collection solutions. The equipment may not only be limited to the list provided, and also considering 5.5 technical requirements, and in brackets, item Q, page 6 of the TOR clearly states that the vendor shall come up with all equipment for the services involved in the revenue collection. And the time for the deadline of submission of proposals is the same as the time for opening of bids. Make provision of between 15 to 30 minutes different. And finally, please make the adjustments in the bidding documents on the above issues and submit for our urgent approval. We thank you for your understanding. So that was our response.
So they wrote back to you on the 9th of November, is that right?
3rd November.
No, they wrote back again on the 9th of November.
Yes, 9th of October.
Is it 9th of October?
Yes, this is 9th of October.
So, because you wrote to them on the 10th of November 2020, and you referred to their letter dated the 9th of November 2020.
I refer to the letter, or
In your letter dated the 10th of November 2020, you referred to their letter dated 9th November 2020.
yes, this is our letter dated 10th November 2020.
I'm sorry. You said they wrote to you on the 3rd of November 2020. Or you wrote back on the 3rd of November 2020. Your letter that you just went through was dated 3rd November 2020, and it was in
Yes,
response
the
to
one-
their letter dated
Yes.
22nd October 2020.
Yes, 22nd October
Right.
2020.
So they wrote again to you on the 9th of November 2020.
I have 9th October 2020. I don't know whether another letter was
Can I-
written on the 9th of November.
Can I just check to confirm?
This. told Alanya to send it. Thomas.
So, yes, I do not see a copy of that letter in the file, but then you wrote back to them on the 10th of November 2020, and you referred to their letter dated letter reference KMC stroke ADM stroke 002, dated 9th November 2020. You say, which follows our letter GPPA stroke KMC stroke TR1 stroke 22 stroke PM, dated 3rd November 2020, relative to the above captioned subject matter. And you said, please be informed that approval is herewith given by the authority to proceed with the request for proposal documents and the choice of procurement, restricted tender, relative to the procurement of digital revenue collection system. We thank you for your understanding and cooperation, etc. So, did they provide the information that you requested in your letter dated the 3rd?
I have not seen any evidence of the provision of the missing information as per our letter dated 3rd November.
Okay, and I would assume, but correct me if I'm wrong, that the basis for granting the approval would have been based on the form 005 that was filled.
Yes, I assume.
Can you verify, can you check with them for the letter dated 9th November 2020, because it does not appear to be in your file, so that we don't speculate in the event that they did send something else? Are you done?
Sorry, Council. Mr. Sanyang, the form 005 that was filled, and Council did ask you questions about whether it is just the signature part and the date that was endorsed on the form, and that whether there was no other information that was put in the form. And you said yes, sometimes they will not put in certain information. But please take a look at the form again, okay, and tell us whether issues like name of supplier stroke contractor, date of contract, contract number, contract implementation, issues like disclosed nature of any dispute or disputes during contract implementation, and explain how it was resolved. This you can understand. It could be after, when the contract is already awarded. It also indicated that you attach a separate sheet if space is provided. Yes, you attach to explain what they have asked. Where payments made within the periods stipulated in the contract, yes or no, and so forth. Is this not some of the information that you could have easily provided? They could have easily provided, except for one, looking at the form.
I am looking at the stage at which we are as far as this submission is concerned. Mm-hmm. Because, like I said earlier,
at the what stage are we at? This
is just the beginning, mm-hmm, and evaluation has not taken place yet. Uh-huh. So, in fact, even from you, some of the information that you are mentioning can only come after the evaluation.
I think the form 005 is the record of request for proposal.
Yes.
So what should it contain? When you request for proposal, what are you looking for? From the supplier or the service provider?
You are requesting suppliers or contractors, but suppliers in these service providers to give you proposals on something that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
What I am saying is, this is a form, but the form is divided into two different sections. Part of the form should only be completed to request for approval of a procurement method and other information. The other part should only be completed when offers are received, evaluated, and then.
Now, before you proceed, is it after this form that you supply the information of the contractor? Is it not at this stage that you supply the information of the contractor?
Yes.
So why is it that this one is not filled?
But I told council that part of the form is not completed, and part of it we can only see the signatures, and part of it is not completed.
No, I
So
did
it
not
should
get
have
that.
been
If I had gotten that part of your explanation, I would not ask
Okay.
the question, because she asked you specifically to say why is it that the form is not filled, but you explained that because the process is on stages, there are some stages that at this period, they could not have reached that stage, and that is why part of these forms are not filled, and which is not the case.
Probably
in this situation.
it escaped me, but her question was direct. It's a direct. She even pointed my attention to the fact that part of the form is only the signature that you can find, and I
Yeah.
confirm that only the signature. So
Yeah.
other information is not provided.
So that is what I'm saying. We are all saying the same thing.
Yes,
But what
yes.
I'm saying is that now you have answered the question to say that some part is filled and some part is omitted.
Yes.
We take your explanation that sometimes it's after one stage, then you will be able to get the other information.
Correct.
But some of the information that is in this form 005 is information that you acquire at this stage.
Correct.
So, and it's not filled. So that is the problem.
Yes, it's not filled.
Thank you. Yes, Council, you can proceed.
Thank you. Now, Mrs. Sanya, so we had gone through the fact that they had requested for restricted tendering. Were the conditions for restricted tendering met? Because we had already said there was no explanation in the form as to why they would use this method of procurement.
As
But
per this-
your authority granted approval in any event.
As per this submission, we cannot determine that the conditions are met.
So we have said your approval was granted on the 10th of November 2020,
Yes.
right? Now I refer you to the minutes of meeting of the Contracts Committee, also dated the 10th of November 2020.
Now, before you get to that, Mr. Sanya,
Yes.
if you look at the Contracts Committee meeting dated the 18th of August 2020, there was a list of companies that expressed their interest. My issue here is with respect to the restricted tender. So what happened to these companies that expressed their interest? How did they go about selecting the companies they want, and what due process did they follow to get to the companies they selected? If 6 companies express their interest in this project.
Now, the whole process requires the completion of a bidding document for restricted tendering. And in the bidding document, there is a section or a portion where the terms of reference and the requirements, as well as the evaluation criteria will be clearly indicated. So the selection will be based on those conditions, including the terms of reference and the criteria set forth in the bidding document.
Who drafts the bidding document?
It's the responsibility of the procuring organization. The contracts committee, what may assign either the SPU, but whatever the case may be, is the responsibility of the contracts committee.
Are you involved in assisting in the drafting of the bidding documents?
GPPA is not involved.
Thank you.
Mr. Sanya, okay, look for the meeting minutes of 10th November 2020. Then I'll direct you back to your letter of 10th November 2020.
Meeting minutes of 10th
November 2020. Do you require assistance?
Yes.
So I'm going to refer you back briefly to your letter dated the 10th of November 2020. It's been flagged. Yes? So your approval was to proceed with the request for proposal documents and the choice of procurement. Is that right?
Yes, approval is herewith granted or given by the authority to proceed with the request for proposal documents.
And to confirm, are those the bid documents that they attached? They are bidding documents there, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now I refer you to the minutes of meeting dated 10th November 2020. In attendance, you have Zainabu Martin Sonko, CEO and Chairperson, Abdullah Jane, Abdullah Kebe, Binta Jane Jalo, Nyima Kamara, Usman Gay, and absent you have Dr. Aliu Keita, Musaba, Dauda Bari. In attendance, you also have Momodu Jalo, GPPA representative. Now, this meeting was for the bid opening of the digital revenue collection system. Is it possible for you to grant approval on the 10th of November 2020, and on the 10th of November 2020 they have a bid opening session?
It's not possible.
So would you say that they had already gone ahead with their RFP before you granted approval?
Either it was they went ahead without seeking the authorities' approval, or the letter is wrongly dated.
Or the what is communicated?
The letter. This letter is either wrongly dated or they went
No, but
ahead.
that letter specifically references their letter of the 9th of November 2020. And you said, which follows our letter of the 3rd November 2020. So as at 3rd November 2020, you had not granted approval.
I don't think.
And even if you had granted approval on the 3rd of November 2020, it is not possible to have a bid opening on the 10th of November 2020. Is that right?
Yes.
So they have said that, bid opening for digital revenue collection system. The chairperson introduced members of the committee to the bidders, who in turn introduced themselves and the companies they represent. The expert in the committee informed bidders that the council is seeking to source the services of a tech company that can provide digital revenue collection, GPS tracking on vehicles, fuel management system, and user-friendly systems. The first bid open was that of Nifty ICT Solutions. They presented a technical and financial proposal of $966,500. Bid security of $19,330 from Global Security Insurance Company. The bid validity is 90 days. The next envelope opened was that of Ecotech Africa Limited. The chairperson reported that only a letter was found in the envelope and the bid document bought from council. The company rep, in response, explained that they could not understand the bid document, as they expected to see a bid form with specifications of the kind of technology required to deploy the service, rather than a document asking them to provide bid security, bid amount, and other matters. Now, from there, let me just ask, would that mean that Ecotech did not provide what was required?
It's either they were not provided or they don't understand, because a bidding document should contain all specific technical specifications. There is a portion where the technical specifications should be provided. So it's either they don't understand the content of the bidding document, or they were not accorded equal opportunity. Probably a different thing was given to them.
A different
Well,
what?
Different document.
As
was
in different
given.
bid document?
Yeah, it's possible. It's a possibility.
How would that work? They're supposed to come to the procuring organization and pay for the bid documents.
Correct.
So how would they be given the wrong bid documents?
Let me confirm that I am not saying that they were given.
No, but you said it's possible.
What
So
I
I'm
am
asking, what
saying
is the
that
possibility? Explain the possibility
what I
of
am
collecting the
saying
wrong
is that
documents.
the procurement law requires free and fair treatment.
Mhm.
In this case, all potential contenders should be given the same bidding document, copies of the same bidding document.
Yes.
There is a possibility that if
Mr. Sanyang,
yes,
if we go back to the minutes,
yes,
you could see that at 1.4, it says, the next envelope open was that of Ecotech Africa Limited. The chairperson reported that only a letter was found in the envelope and the bid document bought from council, which means they bought the bid document
But
and they looked at the bid document. and they enclosed the same bid document and submitted it. And they were present when those documents were being opened.
Correct.
So how can you insinuate that there could be foul play?
When they were asked, what did they say? According to them, they gave an explanation
Yes,
of why they did that.
yes.
So the reason, the explanation may suggest that they either don't understand the content of the bidding document to show exactly where the technical specifications are, or the document itself which was given to them was wrong.
So what is your assessment of 1.5? What can you infer from 1.5 according to their minutes?
That was the last sentence.
Yes, since you are not the writer, you may just assume and give your opinion.
Thereafter, the chairperson requested to adjourn.
No, 1.5, paragraph 1.5. The company rep in response.
1.5. The company rep in response explained that they could not understand, and that is exactly what I said. They could not understand the bid document as they expected to see a bid form with specifications of the kind of technology required to deploy the service, rather than a document asking them to provide the bid security and bid amount and other matters.
Yes, so your lack of understanding, can it amount to you being unfairly treated?
No.
Thank you. Council, you may proceed.
Thank you. So 1.6, they're saying the KR Enterprise was the third bidder. They provided a bid security of $114,000. The bid amount is $6 million. They also had a revenue sharing option, which is 70-30 to KMC and KR, respectively. The chairperson announced that the last bid was from 5C, which came late. As per the GPPA rules, late submissions are disregarded. A rep of 5C said that since their bid was dishonored due to late submission, but that of Ecotech, which was incomplete, was accepted. She queried that Ecotech did not file in a completed bid and that it should have been disregarded. In response, the GPPA rep said what was submitted was read out in the open, and all bidders did take note. It is now the work of the committee to evaluate and send the relevant documents to GPPA. Now, you had said that where your representatives are there in case there are issues, and they may send their opinion to the authority or to the procuring organization. Do you know whether any opinion was sent by your rep in respect of this bid opening?
Yes, as per what we are saying here, the representative, our representative gave his own opinion, advice, technical advice to the committee.
No, so I asked whether they sent an opinion, so like a documented opinion about what happened to your office.
I don't think so.
Okay, so can you then tell us what you understand from what your rep is saying?
Actually, this is a situation where there was some sort of dispute among them, that one supplier was disqualified based on the fact that the bid was late, which is in line, because according to the law, late bids should not be accepted. The other one, according to what is before, or the information before us, the information was read out, and according to the other guy that provided the late bid, there are some information which is missing, and that he is opined that that bid should not have been accepted. So the technical advice from our representative there was like, the bid should be accepted, and then the evaluation committee will take the necessary steps or do due diligence to ensure that what is provided for by the law will determine the outcome of the evaluation.
Mr. Sanya,
Yes.
I don't seem to understand what you are saying. What is being said here in the minutes is that the rep for 5C said, since their bid was dishonored due to late submission, but that of Ecotech, which was incomplete, was accepted. She queried that Ecotech did not file in a complete bid and that it should have been disregarded. So even whereas you did not file a complete bid, you still would be allowed to proceed in the bidding process? Is that what you are telling us?
Correct, yes.
So even when you don't complete your
Yes.
forms or whatever
Yes.
is being asked,
That is not the stage where,
you will be disqualified.
yes,
Honor.
the disqualification will be determined by the
Evaluation.
evaluators. But late bid can be disqualified at that stage.
Who? Late.
Late bid.
Yes, Council.
Thank you. So it reads, on that note, the chairperson thanked all bidders for attending the bid opening and promised to get back to them in due course. At this juncture, some members acknowledged that the specifications were not clear-cut, and the chairperson expressed her surprise over the inclusion of bid amounts, bid security, etc., as such were not necessary in this case and were never part of the terms of reference and specification. She explained that this is a service council is seeking to source from tech companies at zero cost to council. Any company that ended winning the bid is expected to come with its own system and technology. The only thing that will be between the company and council is a service and revenue sharing agreement. Further, the GPPA rep stated that all the requirements were not captured and thus there is a need to evaluate and then go through the process again and invite fresh bids thereafter. The contracts committee expert said what was discussed and agreed upon regarding the terms of reference and specifications was clear. He said the submissions should have focused on only technical specifications and profit sharing and nothing else. He added that the process of documentation should be revisited as the submissions needed to be reviewed by the committee prior to it being sent to the procurement authority for approval. To that effect, members agreed that since the bid documents, especially the requirements and specification, were not clear and agreed to postpone the evaluation and write to GPPA to seek approval to re-tender the digital revenue collection system. Thereafter, a new tender process will start. It was highlighted that when the re-tender is done, all those that bought the form before should be given new forms at no cost. Thereafter, they adjourned that meeting. Now, can you just tell us whether they sent you a letter in, let's see what date it says.
Can you come back?
Sorry, I'm looking for something. Okay, never mind. A letter dated 14th December 2020. It's from Canifing Municipal Council to the Director General of Gambia Public Procurement Authority, and it's a request for re-tender of the digital revenue collection project. Have you found
Yes,
it?
dated 14th December
2020.
2020, yes.
So in this letter, they have requested, they have said that they resolved to retender the project, write an apology letter to companies that bidded, and to also urge them to retender with forms issued free of charge. and to ensure that the bid documents are very explicit on the purpose of the goals, technical requirements, and deliverables. Is this right?
Correct.
Then your office wrote back on the 21st of December 2020.
Yes.
And you said that having reviewed the request for cancellation of the above procurement proceedings, following the opening of bids, please be informed that the authority cannot give approval on the request due to the absence of minutes of the contracts committee and relevant GPPA forms on the said procurement. You are required to provide the authority with the signed minutes of your contracts committee on the procurement in question and the endorsement to cancel by the accounting officer. Furthermore, please submit the record of bid opening, Form 013, and all bids submitted by the potential bidders in this tender. Did they submit a bid evaluation report?
No, they did not. I have not seen it as per this SOP.
And it is mandatory to submit the bid evaluation report, is it not?
Yes.
So they wrote back to your office on the 24th of December 2020, and they sent you signed minutes of the contracts committee meeting of 10th December 2020, wherein the committee's endorsement to cancel the bid evaluation and seek approval from GPPA to retender due to anomalies realized in the tender process. And they sent bid opening, Form 013, and all bids submitted by a potential bidder. And they also submitted a complaint letter from one of the bidders.
Sorry, that letter dated
24th December 2020.
Yes.
So can you confirm that
24th December 2020.
2020? Can you
Yes.
confirm that what they said was that they signed, they're attaching documents that you requested, the signed minutes of the contracts committee meeting, the bid opening, Form 013, and the complaint letter from one of the bidders? Is that what they said in their letter?
Yes, that is what they said in their letter, and let me try to confirm whether they are attached. Signed minutes of the contracts committee. I only see minutes of the contracts committee.
That's the only attachment you've seen?
Yes, dated 10th November 2020.
Okay.
And the minutes are not, I have not seen.
The bid?
Yes, of course, they are signed by the secretary to the contracts committee and the CEO, Senabu Martin.
Now, your office wrote back to KMC on the 5th of January 2021.
5th of January.
5th of January 2021. And the heading is request for retender of the digital revenue collection project.
Did you see the 5th January? Is
Pardon?
that the one you are looking for?
Yes, The 5th January is what I am looking for.
Do you need assistance?
Yes.
She was saying that Gigo did not approve the bid opening. But now was our stand. If we did not approve the bid opening, because they're supposed to write to us to invite us to the bid opening, and we did not approve the bid. Why was this done? I said, what we are going to do then? Huh? Yeah, I know.
Have you seen the letter?
Yes, from GPPA. Sorry, I was looking for 5th January from the council.
Okay. No, it's from GPPA.
Okay.
So I was saying that GPPA wrote back to them on the 5th of January 2021. And you said that you have reviewed the request for cancellation of the procurement proceedings and that the authority has no objection to cancel the procurement. You said, however, please provide the authority with additional information regarding the specific defects or gaps in the technical requirements or terms of reference in the approved bidding documents that needs modification to enable bidders to submit adequate proposals and resubmit for our consideration. He said, furthermore, during our review, we made the following observations. 1, the approved bidding documents for the said tender indicated a date on the schedule, page 12, for submission of questions and queries by the potential bidders. 2, one of the bidders, Ecotech Africa Limited, submitted a letter dated 9th December 2020 as part of their submission and indicated that there are anomalies in the tender documents. However, the bidder should have requested for clarifications before the deadline of bid submission as provided for in your tender documents. Furthermore, we observed in the letter the bidder Ecotech is currently working with KMC on the same procurement, which is a potential conflict of interest. Please clarify. And you thank them for their usual cooperation.
Now, before you answer the question, the letter dated the 24th of December 2020, which was written by KMC to your office, and you wrote a reply. You wrote a reply on the 5th for the letter dated the 24th. But did they provide you with the information that was contained, that you asked them to produce?
The letter dated 24th of December.
The letter dated 24th. KMC wrote to you acknowledging receipt of your letter dated the 21st of December 2020. They wrote to say that they were submitting the minutes of the contracts meeting of the 10th of December, the bid opening form 013, and the complaint letter from one of the bidders. Did you receive that?
No, it's not in the submissions here. I have not seen it.
So they wrote to you and they did not submit this?
I have not seen them in these submissions. I don't think they were submitted.
Okay. Okay, Council, you can proceed.
Thank you. So you had written back to say that you noticed that one of the bidders, Ecotech, was involved in a procurement or in that procurement with the council. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know much about that. Probably it was discovered by our representative there.
Pardon?
Maybe the guy representing the authority may have that idea.
Can you find out for us who was handling this particular activity and what they found out? Because it is clearly written here that this project was being executed by Ecotech, even though there is back and forth writing. There is back and forth communication between KMC and you guys for the purpose of making sure that the proper procedures are followed in the reissuance of the tender. Yes, Mr. Jeta.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair. Council, if I understand well from your exchanges with the director, GPPA did not approve the bid opening, but our staff was there. I'm wondering why our staff was there when we did not approve the bid opening.
Well, that's
Because-
a question that
No,
you
it's
would
not a
have
question for
ask
you to
your
answer.
staff.
It's not a question for you to answer, just to confirm that your exchange was that GPPA did not approve the bid opening.
So my point was that GPPA did not approve the opening, and yet it was opened on that day. Sorry, the date that GPPA approved the tender documents, which is the RFP, was the date that the council had its bid opening for the RFP that was approved on that same day, and your staff was present on that day.
Okay, thank you. For me, just for my personal information or for the information of the authority, I just want to confirm with ourselves why was our staff present when we did not approve the bid opening. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just maybe ask Mr. Stanya whether that person still works with your authority. Let me just look for the name. This is Momodu Jalo.
Yes,
He
Mohammed.
still works for your authority?
Yes, he
So
was working for the authority, but he's no more with us.
do you know where he's gone to?
I think he moved to another institution,
To what, sir?
to a different institution.
Yes, but do you know which institution?
Yes,
Can you tell us which institution?
is the Gambia Food Security,
Food
the
Safety.
then
Security.
GPMB.
Okay. Chairperson, did you want to ask something in that regard?
I know you have. My only question was the date, because if you look at the sequence of events, it was not possible for you to have granted approval. At the same time, KMC was opening their bids. So something must have gone wrong somewhere. It's either the authority was overzealous in doing their job, or KMC felt that approval would not be denied, and they proceeded to open their bid, even though they might not have received the approval at that point in time.
Actually, I think I confirm here that it is not possible to have a bid opening and on the same day you have an approval. It's not
possible.
logical anyway.
Thank you.
So I refer you to the Kanifi Municipal Council Contract Committee meeting minutes dated 11th January 2021. And in attendance, you have 4 people: Sainabu Martin Sonko, CEO; Abdullah Jane, Procurement Manager; Nyema Kamara, Director of Planning and Development; Sarata Jaite, Procurement Officer.
Yes.
Okay, so they have said that it's about the clarification for the retendering of the digital revenue collection system. And they said that the purpose of the meeting was to clarify the hitches that ensued following the bid opening of tender documents from the respective bidders for the digital revenue collection system. She said some things, and then she said, consequently, she took full responsibility for the lapse as the chairperson of the committee and apologized to the bidders on behalf of the committee. She further informed the meeting that fortunately GPPA has approved the request for retender for the electronic ticketing system, and she looks forward to partnering with any company among the bidders to deploy the service on behalf of the council. At this juncture, she invited comments from the bidders regarding the whole process, and the only comment from 5C's representative, Mr. Mustafa Dabo, is as follows. Mr. Dabo expressed his regret about the fact that 5C's submitted very late for the initial bid, but they had intended to submit a framework agreement for the consideration of the committee, since they have experience delivering such services in 5 continents and are already running it for Brikama and Bassa area councils. The rest of the bidders also expressed their willingness to cooperate and participate in the retendering process. On that note, the chairperson informed them that the new bid document will be made available to them at no cost. The request for a shorter bidding period, given the fact that the fiscal year has already commenced, was acknowledged by the committee, and as such, both the bidders and the committee consented to collaborate in that regards. Can you confirm when you return that whether there was a procurement plan for KMC for the year 2021?
Yes, I will confirm when
Okay,
I
thank you.
go back to the office.
And have you seen their Form 100?
Yes, I saw Form 100, so yeah, let me. Yes.
So they finally did a requisition form, and can you confirm that they did not check what the box that tells you to check which procurement you're doing, whether it's for goods, works, or services?
None of them.
They did not indicate any.
It's not indicated, yes.
And in the item description, they said digital revenue collection system.
Correct.
And the estimated total cost, they said none.
Yes.
They also did not indicate whether there were funds available under the funds availability confirmed column.
Confirm.
Just under digital revenue, the item description on the left.
The funds confirmation.
Yes.
Yes, I have seen something there. This is Dr. Leuketa.
Oh no, not that part. On top, on the left, where it says funds availability confirmed, and it's supposed to be ticked yes or no.
Yes, yes.
There's no indication.
There is no indication.
And right under that, where it says this procurement request is part of the annual procurement plan, and you're supposed to tick yes or no, they did not indicate
It's not
anything.
also indicated, yes.
Okay. But the form was signed by Bakari Singate, PM Balit,
Yes.
under the originating officer. Confirmation of funding, Dr. Aliu Keita, DOF. And approval to proceed with procurement was Zainabu Martin Sonko, CEO.
Yes,
And these were all signed on the 12th of January 2021.
correct.
They have now attached Form 002, Record of Restricted Tendering.
1002. Correct.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay, so under A2, the justification for use of restricted tendering, they have said because of the urgency. Is this a justifiable reason as it is for use of restricted tendering?
under the conditions of restricted tender, as provided by the law, there is nothing like urgency as a condition for the use of restricted tender.
So it's not a justifiable reason, is that what you're saying?
Well, as for
According
the-
to Section 39.
Now, justifications should only be done in accordance with the law. And now, if it is not, I want to conclude that it is not justifiable.
Did you say you want to conclude that it's not justifiable?
Yes.
Okay. So under A3, they have said, where it says explain criteria used to identify firms to be invited to tender, they said market research. What does market research entail?
This is where the PO will engage in trying to find out what prevails in the market in terms of goods and services that are available, in terms of their quality, in terms of their cost, in terms of where they can be purchased from. That is the place where you can get them from.
So, but then the authority does not require any details about how the market research was conducted?
And the evidence there too?
Now, there we could have asked, for example, for the evidences, but that depends on the circumstances as the question comes. If we think we still have some doubts about the information that they are given, we have officials who can always check what they said against what prevails in the market.
Is it not contained in your regulation that they should be submitting market surveys, which is more or less the same as market research?
They should provide evidence of market surveys, but we don't have any design form or format for it.
Okay. Council, yes.
Thank you. So the rest of that page they didn't complete. The chairperson of the contracts committee just signed. Can you confirm?
Yes.
And are those required to be completed at this point?
Did you get her question?
On that same page, I'm saying.
Yes.
So contracts committee decision, it says approved for further action, procurement less than $1 million. He forwarded to GPPA for approval prior to inviting tenders, any other decision. Are any of those required to be completed at this stage?
Now, I think this other section, that is the contracts committee decision on the last column there, should have been completed. For example, you have a box for approved for further action, that is procurement, less than $1 million. Forward to GPPA for approval should be ticked, and any other decision should, depending on the suitability of what they are asking for, you can tick some of the boxes. But if you look at the bottom, it says like signature, chairperson on behalf of the contracts committee on some of these information in this column. So that column should have been completed and then signed by the chairperson of the contracts committee.
Okay. I refer you to the response to your letter about Ecotech conducting a procurement or working with them on that procurement. The letter is dated 21st January 2021. It's from Canifing Municipal Council. Please let me know when you find it.
Yes.
Okay, so they're saying that I write to acknowledge receipt of your letter conveying the approval for the above stated subject matter dated 5th January 2021. In response to the request to provide additional information to the authority regarding the specific defects or gaps in the technical requirements or terms of reference in the approved bid document, please refer to the new bid document that has been submitted for your approval and compare it with the approved one, and you will see the difference in the two documents is quite remarkable. Is this an appropriate, I don't know whether to call it request, or they're telling you to look at the two documents and you should compare and decide and figure out what the difference is? Is this usual?
Actually, the letter may look unsuitable, but I think they are trying to refer, because we saw some weaknesses or deficiencies in the former document. And it is only in another document that they can amend based on our requests and recommendations. So if they have heeded to the recommendations, they can draw our attention to that. That is what
No,
I
that is
believe.
not our question, Mr. Sanya. Can you repeat your question, Council?
So my question is, you asked them to clarify the defects. Now they have told you we have sent you another bid document. You look at it, look at the old one that we had sent you, and you look for the differences. So that's what I'm asking you, if that is usual. For them to just tell you to look, I've sent you one, and I had sent you one previously, you go and check it yourself.
Actually, what I am saying is,
Is it usual?
It's not
If it's usual, it's usual. If it's not, it's not.
Okay, it's not
I just want to
usual.
know.
It's not usual.
Okay. So she has now gone ahead and said, furthermore, I wish to clarify that KMC has never in any way worked with any of the bidders, including Ecotech, on this particular procurement. What we had with Ecotech was a free trial of the system they have, and any other interested bidder could have done the same for the council and are still welcome to do so in the best interest of the company. In the best interest of the council. Now, is it usual for bidders, one of the bidders, to provide a free trial when this is not part of the bidding?
A
Free trial of the product that they're bidding for, or the service that they're bidding for. So she's saying that they've never worked with Ecotech on this particular procurement. What they had with Ecotech was a free trial of the system they have, and any other interested bidder could have done the same for the council and are still welcome to do so in the best interest of the council. So Ecotech provided them with a free trial of the system. In respect of the procurement, that has now been cancelled.
Which was ongoing.
Well, I can't tell from the letter whether it was ongoing at that time, so I don't want to speculate.
No.
But it has now been cancelled.
No, the
it's
reason-
due for
sorry.
retender.
Sorry, Kanzo.
Yes.
The reason why I said was ongoing is because they wrote to them a letter indicating that they have realized that they have been working with Ecotech on this.
On the procurement.
On this
This was
activity.
at the time when they wrote to seek to cancel the procurement.
Yes.
So they wrote back to say that they cannot approve, send us the contract committee minutes.
And they
we
raised
have
the issue.
We have realized, yes.
Yes,
this.
they raised the issue because
Yes,
there was a process going on in trying to get bidders to bid for this particular service.
Yes.
Yes, and it is in that context that I'm saying, whilst this process was going on.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
my question is this acceptable for one of the bidders? There are several bidders. One of them offers the council a free trial of their system. They're supposed to be providing a system to the council. One of them offers the council a free trial of the system. This is not contained in the RFP. It's not contained in the TOR. And one of them offers it. The others don't. And the council essentially takes the offer for the free trial, even though this is the same procurement that has just been cancelled and is being retendered. Is that acceptable?
Is against the principles of fair treatment.
Okay, so she went on to say, secondly, we have been advised by Mr. Paul Mendy of the authority. Does Paul Mendy still work with you?
Pardon?
Does Paul Mendy still work with
No,
you?
Paul is not with us.
So we have been advised by Mr. Paul Mendy of the authority to now fill the request for expression of interest form instead of the restricted tender document. Though our procurement is working with your personnel on this new advice, this seems confusing to me since our initial request for the restricted tender was approved without bringing this issue to our attention. It will be appreciated if the authority can clarify the way forward regarding this procurement. While we appreciate your usual support, please accept the renewed assurances of our highest esteem. So I think this is one of the issues that Chairperson had raised. If your staff are giving advice or they're present during openings or evaluation, when they now send their documents to you for approval, she's saying that one of your staff has advised her to to fill a different form, because the form we had just done, the 100 and 002 was restricted tender. She's saying your staff has now advised her to request for expression of interest instead. Do you see the conflict in such a situation?
I think there is a potential conflict of interest anyway, because the request for proposal was mentioned at the beginning. The request for proposal was. Now, I don't understand how at this stage one will be asked to use a request for proposal when already bidding documents and other things are sent. So I think what they are talking about is for them to now complete a form, probably for record purposes, if the right form was not given.
She said
That is not what
instead
is
of.
contained in this. It is not. What
She
you are
said,
saying.
secondly, we have been advised by Mr. Paul Mendy of the authority to now fill the request for expression of interest form instead of the request for tender document. Sorry, instead of the restricted tender document. So are you saying the authority staff's advice is wrong?
Now,
Yes.
Yes.
With your permission, Madam
Yes,
Chair,
yes.
it's an absolute conflict of interest. This was exactly the subject of discussions yesterday, especially between myself and the Honorable Commissioner Silla. Even if the staff, we have seen this in the past, staff will give advice to procuring organizations, and it will conflict with the rules. But this advice is not official. So actually, our advice to the procuring organization should be official, written. So the short answer is, it is a potential conflict of interest, and I've seen a lot of it in the past.
Thank you. So KMC wrote back to your office on the 25th January 2021, saying we hereby submit a request for proposal for the Kanifing Municipal Council Digital Revenue Collection Project. This request follows submission and subsequent approval to open tenders for this project, which during the bid opening process had abnormalities and therefore was nullified. The abnormality, I think they meant abnormality, has since been corrected as the bid documents are now very explicit on the purpose, goals, technical requirements, and deliverables for the project. In view of the foregoing, we solicit your support and look forward to your approval. Then you wrote back on the 27th. On the 27th of January 2021, referring to the letter of 21st January, and you said you reviewed the letter of response to the additional information and clarifications relative to the cancellation. However, your clarifications did not address the authority's concerns regarding the specific gaps or defects in the tender documents that require cancellation of the said tender. Notwithstanding, considering the circumstances regarding this procurement and the recommendations made by your contracts committee, I hereby convey to you the authority's approval without admission of any liability to proceed with your decision to cancel the said tender. What does that mean, that you're approving without any liability?
Actually, I think what the authority is looking at here is all decisions taken are by the contrast committee on behalf of the institution. And that, like I said in the morning, I think the author is making reference to the sections of the act that gives all liabilities to the accounting officer, who should be held responsible, and any other official for any decision that is taken.
So can I just point out that it is your Paul Mendy that signed this letter as well?
Yes,
The one that gave them advice previously?
correct.
Okay. So the letter goes on to say, on your relationship with one of the bidders, Ecotech, there is no evidence that other bidders were given the same opportunity given to Ecotech. This contravenes the principles of GPPA Act, which state that all suppliers should be given equal opportunity to compete. Regarding the authority's advice on the modified tender documents received on the 14th January 2021, the authority did not reject your decision to use restricted tender procurement method. Having reviewed the said documents, we observed that the bidding document submitted was for goods instead of request for proposal, which is consultancy services. We thank you for your understanding, etc. So, your authority approved the cancellation, and they had submitted a new request for proposal in respect of the same process. I believe this is what would be contained in part 2 of this file, KMC 1 of 2020.
Did you
Chairperson?
get that? Did you get what she's saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that earlier on today, during the course of our discussion, Council did refer you to the general provision of liability in your act. And I believe that we should shed the notion that the procuring institution is and or the only institution that should be held accountable or liable. Because if you look at what they're doing, they on most parts rely on your advice in terms of compliance. They ask for your approval. And when you don't give your approval, they know that they are deficient in some of the issues that you highlight, and they must take the time to address those issues. So if you begin to tell us that the procuring institution, the accounting officer and the officers responsible and the officers concerned are the only ones to be responsible, we may have difficulty in appreciating that, because as an authority that has oversight and that regulates and that gives approval, I think where it is your lapse, it is prudent that to say it is our mistake, whether it is honest or dishonest, but it's good to admit that, you understand, the error is done by a party none other than the procuring organization. Because if you look at the last two letters, they're trying to defend themselves to say that, well, we have provided what you ask us, and it is advice that we got from your people, and that is why we acted X, Y, and Z. So it's important that the rules are contained in the law. The regulation is very clear, and I don't think that we will have difficulty if we just follow what is provided for and advise based on what the law is saying. Then anybody that wishes to go outside of the law That is your responsibility. So that is my advice.
Yes, I think your advice is noted, and in fact, it's a good time that we are also reviewing our regulations, so that some of these things will be, of course, clearly defined.
Yes, I believe that it is 5 o'clock. This is a convenient point to stop. We will reconvene tomorrow. We may rise now. Thank you and have a good evening.